everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. I've got to be honest, I've just been caught on the hop. I didn't realise we were going to be live, but we are live, and I hope you're all doing very well. And welcome to Georgina Lewis, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. How are we all doing? The latest Manchester United news for you and Friday night chat on the United Stand as standard. And we'll be talking about the Premier League. There's been a Premier League meeting today, and that has given us a bit of a track as to where the Premier League might be going. Certainly no plans to void it at the moment. But I want to start off with two deals that could be quite close. And I want to give a bit of backdrop onto one of them. But we'll start off with Angel Gomes, which is quite interesting that I think he was doing an interview with ManchesterUnited.com and has spoken about a desire to win trophies at Manchester United, which I think is a positive statement from Angel Gomes. Of course, he is in that really interesting situation where he's out of contract at the end of June. But there's talks that the season won't be the season won't be finished by the end of June. So what happens to all these contracts of people like Agallo and Angel Gomes? Chelsea interested. He's free to talk to anybody. And I think that a player like Angel Gomes, in a time where people don't really want to be paying transfer fees, is rather interesting. So hopefully these comments from Angel Gomes talking about winning trophies in the future at Manchester United mean that he's going to sign a contract. I'm really eager. I don't necessarily know Angel Gomes is definitely going to be the player that we think he is. I'll hold my hands up. I was thinking before we went live, I remember him playing in a Europa League tie at Old Trafford this season, and he didn't really set the world on fire by any means, but I just think Gomes and Chong should stay at the club and go on loan next season in a championship side and see what they do. They need regular first team football, and hopefully Gomes sees that here, and hopefully Solskjaer realises the mistake of last season, being a young, inexperienced manager himself, and the fact that Chong and Gomes should have been on loan in the Championship this season, developing their talent, which I think they both have, and then we'll find out whether they're ready to do Manchester United stuff. So that's interesting on Angel Gomes. The second one is Jude Bellingham, and a little bit of context to this. I don't know whether you saw this, and although we're a Manchester United fan channel, I think you've got to look at the bigger world of football because it will have an impact on what we're trying to do. Prayers and condolences to Robbie and his family, says Habib Books. I was going to actually mention that towards the end, but we'll do it now. So yeah, Robbie of AFTV was on the show on Monday with me, interview. Unfortunately, he's announced today that his dad has died, 93 years of age. So condolences from everybody, and thoughts and prayers as well with Robbie and his family. We are one family in football, and especially in relation to Arsenal Fan TV and United Stand, we forged close relationships over the last few years. So and Robbie's a top guy, as I think anybody knows who's met him and who's not met him. What you see is what you get. So condolences and that. And also, look, another massive amount of people dying today from this virus. That's the real thing at the moment. This, as much as I love it, football is an escapism, isn't it? That's what it is. What's really going on in the world at the moment is terrifically sad, and we will get through it. We will get through it, and we'll talk about what the Premier League have planned in a moment. But to bring a bit of context to the Jude Bellingham story, so what they're basically saying about Jude Bellingham is that Manchester United could sign Jude Bellingham on a very, very cheap deal because Birmingham City are desperate for money. Now, I know that. I don't live too far away from Birmingham. I know some Blues fans, and they're worried that Birmingham City could get thrown back into the financial fair play problems that they've had of the past. So selling somebody like Bellingham and bringing some money in would help. So look, there is an opportunity there to get a player cheap, because there's a financial crash, and also because we would know that club need money. But remember, Dortmund are in there as well, and Dortmund may just say, well, look, we want the player, we're going to give you the money. So that is interesting. But what also interests me today, and I don't know whether many people picked up on this, the TV rights for the French League, reportedly BN and Canal Plus have withdrawn their money for the French League as of April, as of this week. They've withdrawn the TV money for the French League. Obviously, it's suspended like everyone else. That's got massive implications for any French team if they're losing their TV money. Now, will that happen in the Premier League? Will it happen in La Liga? Will it happen in Germany? I don't know. But if that's true in the French League, that these reports are that these TV companies have withdrawn the money that they're paying them, suddenly every player in France becomes gettable, because these clubs will not have the revenue streams that they did have. So whether it's Moussa Dembele from Lyon, it's Babakary Samari from Lille, or any other player that you quite fancy, this is the downside of the transfer market, where teams could really benefit and other teams could really struggle. Welcome to the members club, Sean Collins. Really appreciate everyone who's become a member recently. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, and this is the problem with Jude Bellingham as well for Birmingham, potentially, that the loss of money and the loss of revenue and the issue that they already had, they will have to sell players. So you might get Borussia Dortmund saying, we're not selling Jadon Sancho for anything less than £100 million. But there's countless other clubs, I think, that are going to be in real financial difficulty who, you know, at the end of the day, if you think that the French league is your household or someone else's household and you are used to earning a certain amount of money a month and then suddenly you lose your job and you're not getting that salary anymore, then suddenly your mortgage, your bills, everything like that, you've got to probably sell your car to get a cheaper car to put some money in there in the household. So it's sad. I don't like it. I wish to God that nothing like this had happened, and I wish to God that we were going, we weren't announcing all these deaths every day and suffering and everything like that. And then, you know, football, which is obviously secondary to that, we would just be paying the money that we thought we were going to play in the summer. But I think there's going to be winners and losers in this transfer market. Now, where Manchester United position themselves, I don't know. Our owners might say, well, we've lost money, we're not spending any money. But I certainly think there might be a few bargains to be had out of this situation, especially in some of those leagues who lose a lot of revenue. And let's not forget, even if these clubs do get their TV money, they're not getting their match day revenue, it's going to be difficult times for some clubs. We're in a fortunate position that our football club, Manchester United, is such a big football club. It will hurt for a little bit, but we know the revenue will come back. Some clubs, it's a difficult situation. Legend called Skulls. You nearly cost me 3 points on my FIFA stream, mate. Or was it De Gea? I wouldn't be bothered about Bellingham, as we got interests from Grealish, Sancho and Jimenez. He's probably going to Dortmund. I think Jude Bellingham has the potential to be as good as Steven Gerrard. So I would love to sign Jude Bellingham. For me personally, I don't know what anyone else thinks, I would rather have Bellingham over Grealish, because I think what we're going to get out of him long term could be just something very, very special. But you know, I see what you're saying. I'm not dismissing it at all. My Dutch colleagues told me Mo is the future of the Holland team. He looks very tidy. Should be on United's radar, says Chunk. Mo I hat Aren. I don't know whether that's a real name or he's trying to get me there, but I didn't say in a way that became obvious to me, so we'll move on. We'll move on with that one. Liverpool shouldn't be given the league, says Alec Dukas. No, 100%. Well, let's talk about that as well. I want to get into your questions tonight, because and what we are going to do tonight as well, which I really enjoyed. I've been a guest on AFTV last night. We had DT on here on Wednesday. I like it when people give us the combinations, like who's the better player, but we can do that later on. There's still some topical stuff to get through. So Pereira's come out and said that he wants to work hard for a future at United. I'd like to get your opinion on that. First of all, though, this Premier League meeting today, apparently it was done via video call. Maybe it was Skype, maybe it was something else. Don't want to be exclusive to Skype. But the situation is the common sense approach. There is no talk of voiding the season at the moment. The UEFA have, as I said this morning, have been very encouraging of leagues that they try to complete them when it is safe. And the Premier League seems to have had a good PR day today. I think we were talking at the start of the week about teams like Spurs potentially laying their staff off to get the money from the government. I don't think those things are going to happen anymore. A lot of players, even Manchester United, apparently are going to take a 30% pay cut for 1 month, but they want that money to go straight to Manchester hospitals. Brilliant. This is great. Why should they take a pay cut? It goes into the club. Where does it go? They want the pay cut to go towards good causes. Spot on. Totally agree with that. And there may be even more being done. I think Jordan Henderson is trying to do something as a captain of Liverpool with all the captains to raise money as well. So football for the good, football for the better. But in relation to football, when will it come back? Look, I can see both sides of this. I've always seen both sides of it. The Premier League are basically saying this, that there is no plan to void the season at the moment. As of right now, there will be no football on April the 30th, which was the original thing. It's been suspended indefinitely with a plan to getting football back and finished. And that's across the English Football League and the Premier League. This is good news. This is good news, but it's not news we need to concern ourselves with at the moment. Because every single day at the moment and every day for the next few days, we're going to see mass death in the UK and around the world. It's a harsh, harsh reality. We will see that. And that is why still staying at home, self-isolating when you can, not interacting with other people is massively important, people. You know, it really is. I don't ever want that lesson to get missed. Somebody messaged me today with a video saying, look at what's happening outside my house. Kids from different houses playing football on the street. Idiotic. Absolutely idiotic. If one of those kids has got it, they've probably got it very mild. They thank the Lord kids don't really have bad symptoms, but they're playing football all afternoon with different kids from different households. They spread it around. Those kids go back to their houses, pass it around all their parents, and the spread continues. So stay at home. I know it's not easy, but stay home, stay out and isolate. So the Premier League's lesson and message is this: we will not play football until it is safe to do so. That is perfect. That is the message we want. I want football back. You want football back. But nobody wants football back tomorrow. Imagine if they said tomorrow, you know what, we've decided, we're carrying on. It's Spurs versus Manchester United on Sunday, behind closed doors. We've got the money to do it. It's beamed on the telly. I think everyone would go, stick it up your arse. That's just absolutely immoral and all about money. Premier League does need to come back, but it needs to come back when it's safe and we're ready to do so. And at this moment in time, and probably for the next 5-6 weeks, no one's going to want to be watching football. So maybe we're looking at June, maybe we're looking at late May, maybe we're looking at July. But at the moment, I think there's a positive thing to look at there, that if we can all get through this and do this, then we will have our football back at some point in the not too distant future. It will be behind closed doors, I think. I think we need to accept that, but we will get it back. And look, I'll just offer you this. In a time of turmoil and in a time of sadness and in a time of despair and all those words, imagine when football comes back, that 9-game season we're going to get. We're in unprecedented times. This is escapism. I have no guilt talking about United and football on here, because this is my, all day we're dealing with the news, we're seeing that on here. We'll acknowledge the news and we have to, because it's the reality, but we can also talk about better things, nicer things, things we love, and that is football. Imagine when we get this season back, that 9-game season we're going to get, where Laporte and Sane are back for Man City, Son and Kane are back for Spurs, Rashford and Pogba are back for us. A 9-game sprint to get top 4 with everybody having their best team. It's exciting, isn't it? It actually releases some positivity in you in a world of negativity. So I hope we get that, because if we do get that, it means this shithouse thing that's going on has been suppressed. If we get football back in June or July, we've got on top of this arsehole thing that's killing people. So I want football back, of course I do, but I want it back because of this, and I only want it back when it's safe. So hopefully we can get to that. I really hope we can, and if we do, it's going to be very exciting, that 9-game season. And I think Europa League maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't, but it'd be nice to get the league done and get Champions League football for United, wouldn't it? Bay will get injured in training before it, says Double Go. Well, I don't think there's an injury of Manchester United's that we would have a fully fit squad. And I think I was looking at this a few weeks ago. Most Premier League squads will be fully fit when it comes back. There's not many clubs that have got massively long-term injuries out of the top 6. So most clubs will have full strength sides in a 9-game season. It'll be crazy. And they'll probably do something like, because it'll be behind closed doors, they'll play games every day. I don't think they'll do it Saturday to Saturday. I think they'll try and get people playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So some will play Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think we'll get football every day. So we'll be spoilt, hopefully. Happier times. And also, I think we've got to, you need to focus on that. I know some people don't want to. Some people want to dwell on the now, and that's up to them, isn't it? It's not very nice at the moment, but I'm one of those people that does look at a better time, and hopefully we can get back to that. I really do hope so. There should be a playoff. Can't give Liverpool free candy, says Alonso the Kid. And got to be honest, I haven't seen much of Jude Bellingham play. What is his style, says Alfie Joshua. So Jude Bellingham, he's only 16. He's played a lot of games in the Championship. He's a midfielder. He can pop in with a goal. I think he's around 6 foot. He might be a little bit bigger than that, but he's only 16. He's going to grow out. He's playing competitive Championship football in an okay Birmingham team, but they're certainly not one of the best sides in there. He can move with the ball. He can put a tackle in. I mean, I don't like comparisons of who he's like, but if you think about what Steven Gerrard was like, he's sort of that sort of a player without the amazing passing range, but that could come. So I think Jude Bellingham is a name that everyone's going to know about in the next 3 years, and I think that's why Manchester United should get hold of him. Hi Mark, I just went for a long walk and it was nice, says Salim Hamad. I'm glad it was a long walk and not something else, but yeah, get your walk, you're allowed it. And Gomes or Bellingham, says Pancake. I would say I've heard it. We have heard about it, Naz, and we've already spoken about it. I would say that I would like Bellingham at Manchester United, to be honest with you, but I wouldn't want to choose between him and Gomes. One player you might want to talk about, and I want to get into your questions in a moment, but one player I do want to talk about is Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney's trending on Twitter because of the United stand. Well, it's trending on Twitter because of Troy Deeney, but it's trending because he was on the United stand. That was, for me, one of the best things I've listened to this year. I don't know whether you've all watched it yet, but the Troy Deeney interview that we had this afternoon, that we recorded a couple of days ago, I just couldn't put it down. I had to watch it all, because this, to me, is the most interesting tactical analysis you'll ever get. You can get Pratt stood there with their bloody boards going like, oh, I've never kicked a ball in my life. What do you think about my little triangles? Or you can listen to Troy Deeney, who's played against United twice this season, beaten us just before Christmas, lost to us at Old Trafford with Bruno. And me and Flex were talking about it before, and I said, really get into that. Get into the difference between United when they beat us and United with Bruno, and what it's like, because we've got our opinion on players, but what's it actually like to play against a Matic or a Lindelof or a Maguire? What's it like? How good is Pogba and Martial? I found it so fascinating. Because I think if you get a United player... Well, I don't want a United player on because they're just going to follow the party line, aren't they? But to get a footballer on like that, I think it's rare to get a footballer in the modern day to say it how it is, but also to be factual about how good United players are. I just absolutely was fascinated by it, and I think we're very, very, very fortunate to have had that interview, and I'm very, very grateful to Troy Deeney for doing it, because there's not a lot of people that would do that who's a current player, who's played against us twice very closely, and to speak openly about what it's like to play against United. And the thing I really, 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 really liked was what he said about Fred. Fred's a really good player, but we targeted Fred because you can press his first touch, because it's not always the best, which we've spoken about as well. And Fred's one of our best players of the year, but it's interesting. I did say to Flex, and we were discussing this, try and find out to him what they tried to target United at, because what are our weaknesses? And that was interesting as well. Zane says, you admitted on AFTV Pepe is class and you wanted to buy him. He will come good next season, just United fans, wait and see. Zane, this is the United stand. And Lee Taylor says, people saying Grealish shouldn't be given a chance at United because of his silly mistake recently. He deserves a chance. How many has Jesse had? I think people just, in this time, look, you know what, Lee? Look at what's happened with... Look at what's happening at the moment with all these, with the number of deaths going up every day, and what Grealish did. A lot of people realised what he did was just idiotic. He did a video saying stay in, and then with a few hours he's going out to a party, and he was idiotic and stupid. But he will come back from it, of course he will. But people were right to be angry with him because it was stupid and idiotic. But yeah, I'm sure he will get a second chance, and I'm a big believer in second chances. Alex R7 says that Grealish is not what we need. What about Pereira? So Pereira's come out and said that he's loving life at United and he wants to work hard and play under Solskjaer. I'm about to say something blunt in a time where I don't really feel like being constructively negative, but I've got to be honest with Andreas Pereira. If I could sell him in the summer, I would, and that makes me sad, because people will know on this channel there's videos of me saying 3 years ago, don't sign James Rodriguez. We've got our own James Rodriguez. His name's Andreas Pereira. But I've seen enough of Pereira over the last year, and unless he's going to suddenly do things we've seen no evidence of over the last year, he just isn't good enough. He's just not good enough. I don't even know if he's good enough to play for Everton or Bournemouth, but he's certainly not good enough for Manchester United. And look, I really hope that he can turn it around, but I think we've seen enough of Pereira to realise he is never going to be good enough. And the bad thing about Pereira is, I think he's now at the stage where I don't think a bit like Lingard, is not good enough for the bench. So if he's starting games or he's on our bench, he's not actually good enough to be there. So look, I think Pereira, You know, he seems like a nice lad. I think he's always seemed like a nice lad, and I had really high hopes for him. But it's not even harsh. You know what? Why shouldn't I say it? I've seen this happen with people like Kieran Richardson. I've seen it happen with Tom Cleverley. You know, good lads just weren't good enough, and you move them on. And I think United need to get into that groove. This is high-end entertainment football, and we're trying to win titles. I think people like Pereira, like Lingard, do need to be moved on. I don't actually see, when with Bruno and Pogba back, I mean, look, if Bruno, Pogba and Matic are your starting midfield, Fred and McTominay are on the bench. So where does Pereira fit on the bench? Where does Lingard fit on the bench? You know, if your attackers are going to be Martial, Rashford and Sancho, you're going to have Dan James and Ighalo on the bench as your attackers. So where is the space on the bench for Pereira and Lingard? And that's what I'm trying to say. They're squad players. They're beyond bench players. Well, those players should be younger players. They should be Garner. They should be Gomes. They should be Chong if they're going to stay. Or a Grealish if you're going to bring in another midfielder. So I don't actually see, in the harshest sense, I don't see what Pereira offers to Manchester United long term. Unless he's going to suddenly show us something we haven't seen, I don't see a player of the United's quality there. I think he will be here next season, by the way. I'm not saying we will sell him, but I think if Solskjaer's serious about being a title contender, he's going to eventually have to move a player like that on, because I just don't see the quality level there. I think he's a player that wouldn't get near a Chelsea bench. I don't think he'd get near an Arsenal bench. So I think we're carrying him in certain sense. But I hope he can turn it around, because he's definitely got the right mentality. But I just don't see a player in Pereira. I don't. I think he's got I always thought he had a good set-piece delivery, but we don't seem to put him on set-pieces. So, yeah, I think he's had a very poor season, Pereira. He's not being coached properly, says Zane. And you can have Ozil for him. I wouldn't want Ozil. Zartak Doob says, for less than 60 million, who can you sign on the right wing? You'd probably get Adama Traore for less than 60 million, to be honest with you. I think Wolves would be quite realistic to that. Pereira out, says Daniel M. And Maria says Zane, okay. And Maria says, stop trying to offload Ozil. Yeah, you're not getting rid of Ozil, Zane, by the way. He's on 350 grand a week. You've got the same problem United have got with Alexis Sanchez. No one would give Ozil 350 grand a week when football was flush with money. Now that football's skint, no one's going to go near him. You're stuck with Ozil. He's going to be there playing FIFA Fortnite till 3 o'clock in the morning on 350 grand a week for the next few years. And, you know, I think he's got a longer contract than Sanchez. Bellingham or Sarr, who would you prefer, says Alonso the Kid. Well, Jude Bellingham's a midfielder and Sarr is a right winger. If you get in Sancho, you don't need Sarr, so I'd prefer Bellingham. You see? Deduction maths. Do you think anyone will be able to afford Pogba after this crisis? Juve taking 70% pay cuts, Hope decides to stay at United and try and win trophies at United, says Shaveen. Well, you know what? You listen to what Troy Deeney said about Paul Pogba, and he was like, I don't get the criticism. I don't get it. He's a fantastic player. I think the problem with Pogba, as a United fan who likes him, who can't stand his agent, Pogba on his day is one of the best midfielders in the world, but he's ridiculously inconsistent. We were 2-0 down against Man City 2 years ago, and City were going to win the title against us at the Etihad, and we're 2-0 down, and we're furious. And then Pogba comes out, 45 minutes, we win 3-2. He's absolutely brilliant. The next week, we're playing relegation candidates West Brom at Old Trafford, and we lose with Pogba in the team. It's ridiculous. Pogba's inconsistency is on him. But if Pogba wants to stay at this football club and wants to put in 100% effort, then I want him to stay. I can't stand his agent. I think his agent is the biggest problem, but maybe he's the mouthpiece for Pogba, and Pogba's the biggest problem. But if Pogba commits to United, there might be a different chapter here, because Pogba was always going to be here for 3 years. I think when we bought him from Juventus, I was like, he's only coming for 3 years. We're a stopgap. And lo and behold, 3 years, this was the summer he's meant to go to Real Madrid. But if he doesn't go to Real Madrid, I want him to stay for another 3 years. I don't want it to be, I'll stay for another year until the financial crisis goes and then I'll go next year. Because all we'll get next season is another year of what we've had this year. A little injury here and there, loads and loads of links to Real Madrid. You can't build a team off that. So Solskjaer's got a big decision to make. If he knows the situation better than anybody. If Pogba's just here to wait for a year, I'd sell him now. But I would have sold him in the summer for the same reason, because you can never move forward if someone's holding you back. But if Pogba wants to be part of what we're building, you know, he's got to commit the rest of his career to United, really, because if he stays for 3 years, he's 30. So, you know, he's past his best. He's either got to push the move that he wants, or he's got to stay. Sal Bakari says, reports about Saul when we need Partey. Thoughts? I mean, Saul Niguez is a very good player, Sal, and I would happily take him as United. I don't think we'll go for Partey. I think we're looking for a more box-to-box player. Martin Odegaard will be perfect backup for Bruno, not Grealish. United can't get him though, says King Sultan TV. There's a lot of players out there that are better than Grealish that we can't get. JT Music says Pogba wants to win trophies. I've got no doubt that that's what he does want to do, but he could win trophies at Manchester United. Could he not? I posed the question: could he not win titles at Manchester United? It's as likely as well. It's not as likely as well. Then again, Real Madrid aren't that good at the moment. Maybe, you know, I don't know. I think Pogba's the solution to his own problem. Like, if you want to go, force the move. I think Pogba's almost a little bit too professional at sometimes, isn't he? Look at what Lukaku did. He forced the move and he got it. If Pogba wants to go, I'll probably respect him a little bit more if he just came out and said it, because there you go. Simba says, I don't think football will be back before September. Look, mate, if it's not back till September, it's not back till September. If it's not back till September, then it's not back till September, because that's the safest time to do it. All I would say is, if it's not back till September, we have this mini season, we finish it, and then we start the next one. When it comes back, it comes back. I predict, with no knowledge, that we will be back playing football in July at the latest. But that's just the way that I watch a lot of stuff. I watch Dr. Jackson on YouTube, all sorts. I've been watching it for weeks, way before we went on lockdown, and he predicted all of this. So I think we'll start to see by the middle of April these numbers start to come down, because I think that self-isolation is working. And also, you trust me, this is everywhere. This is everywhere. This is in the village I grew up in, which is a rural town in Nottingham. This is in Liverpool. This is in Manchester. It's rife in London. It is bloody everywhere. A lot more people have had this than people think. There aren't just a few thousand cases. There's probably millions of people who've had it in this country, and that, in the long term, will make things easier, because you can't get it again quickly. So look, we're getting too scientific, but football will be back, and I think it has to be back. Paul McPhillip says the best way, start chucking your questions in, by the way. The best way to resolve the fixture problem is to finish this season when it's safe, then play half a season where everyone plays each other once. The only trouble with that, Paul, is if you're playing Liverpool or Man City, who gets the Old Trafford fixture or the Anfield fixture? That's going to be your problem that you've got to solve, isn't it? Because it's about making it fair. Partey or Ceballos, says Van Helsing. I mean, I thought Ceballos had a good start to his Arsenal career, but then you look, I know he got injured in that, but then you look at it and think, well, he never really kicked on from the first few games, so why didn't he kick on? I think I would have to go with Ceballos, because I think that's Ceballos, Thomas Partey. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think he'd be perfect for United, but I don't think we're going to necessarily look at it. Please do smash a like on the video if you're watching live, by the way. Really appreciate it. Remember, we're live every night at 8 o'clock. Big shout out for tomorrow night as well. There's pub quizzes, and then there's the United Stand pub quiz. We'll be live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Drawty's done a lot of work on it. It's going to be very interactive. All you're going to need is a pen and paper. Get your family involved. It's not all United. There's going to be general knowledge, general football. Everybody is welcome. It's going to be a laid-back Saturday night show. I think it could be the best show on Saturday night since Noel's House Party, which I loved. So, or Casualty. There might be a bit of Casualty if I lose, but tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, the quiz. You're going to really enjoy it. Welcome to Shaveen, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thanks for everybody who is supporting the channel and becoming a member. It really does help in this time of what's going on, so I really appreciate that, and everyone who's doing the super chats. It does help. Please rate Sane. I really like him, says Floor Spot. You know what, I sort of moved past this a few years ago. I was always a resentful little shit about rivals, and basically, if you'd spoken to me a few years ago about Liverpool, I would be like, void the season, don't want that scummy team getting anything. Salah's shit, Mane's overrated, Van Dijk's a Dutch Chris Smalling, and they're just crap. That's what I would say, because I was so tunnel visioned, so loyal to United, and I think as I've mellowed and got older, I do just... And I think it's coincides with United being crap, by the way. I think United being crap opens your eyes up to realities. So I think that Sane is the closest I've seen to Ryan Giggs, and he's nowhere near as good as Ryan Giggs, but the way he moves the ball, how he glides across the ground, I do like Leroy Sané, and it's just a shame he plays for City, but they're going to acquire players, of course they are. They're going to acquire players with the money that they've got, and he's a very good player. And the funny thing is, Sané, Firmino, Gabriel Jesus were definitely linked to United before that Liverpool and City bought them. I'm not going to say Salah or... Mane was another one under Van Gaal. He was heavily linked to as well. So, look, whether we were in for all those players or not, I don't know. But I remember us being quite heavily linked to them. Ceballos and Pepe next season will run riot. Mark next season, says Zane Massey. Yeah, I think Ceballos will run riot next season, Zane. And he'll do it at Real Madrid because he doesn't play for you. He's on loan. You won't be buying in. Jawin Daniel says, will we see more swaps or three-way deals? Three ways. Happening this summer due to tighter... Three ways and tighter. This is... Let me read this again. Will we see more swaps or three-way deals happening this summer due to tighter budgets? Might be more complicated, but looks like clubs won't have money to splash. Also, thoughts on Marcos Llorente, says Joe Daniel. Well, Llorente of Atletico Madrid looked quite decent. He scored against Liverpool, didn't he? It just feels so long ago when they knocked him out the cup. So I think Llorente was a player that we were looking at in January to come in on loan. Now, I don't think we were looking at him as a long-term deal. I think it was always a loan deal. I'm glad we didn't get him on loan because he knocked Liverpool out. So I think he's a decent player. With regards to tighter budgets and three ways, as I said, French clubs could be very, very easy pickings for cheap players because they're going to lose revenue, especially if their TV deal is pulling out like they're reporting. Regards to swaps and everything like that, swap deals aren't very easy to do because all the agent fees, all the different intricacies of both deal. It's easier to look if the Mkhitaryan and Sanchez thing dragged out because there were so many things you had to sort out for each player. It would have been easier if United had just paid 40 million for Sanchez than Arsenal had paid 40 million for Mkhitaryan. But we're going into unprecedented will. We don't know. Thoughts on Ollie as our first team coach next season, says Luke Valentine. That just feels a long time ago, that debate, doesn't it? And I think that's because I think it's two things. One, we've not had football for a while. There's three things, actually. One, we've not had football for a while, so we're sort of numb to the feelings we had at the time. Two, we were doing quite well. And three, the wider world makes you more empathetic. I think that if Solskjaer came back and had a bad 9 games and we didn't get top 4, his position could be in question. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, do you see United losing games when they've got the defence that they've got and they're adding Pogba and Rashford to the attack that they've got? I think United will storm to top 4. And then Ollie will stay for next season. I think Solskjaer will be manager of United next season. But I've got to be honest, no one really talks about this. What's Pochettino doing at the moment? What's Allegri doing at the moment? They're sat there waiting for jobs and they don't know what jobs they're going to get. If they're going to get any jobs at all. Interesting times. Interesting times. Do you... Jack Cartwright says, do you think it will stop racism? What? The virus and the pandemic? You can live in hope, but racism is still there, isn't it? I don't think racists are going to stop being racist just because of the coronavirus. I think there's a lot of good work being done about it, and all I ever say about that is that the schools I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, I'll be honest, there was jokes and racism there because that was acceptable. If you look on old classic Only Fools and Horses episodes, they've probably all been edited out now because you couldn't play it. But if you've got the old DVDs, there's racism in that. There's racism in the episodes of comedies from 10, 20 years ago. So we're just moving in a direction further and further away from it. But you're always going to get it until it's gone. But the work that's been done over the last, 30 years of my life, it's very different to how it was, and that can only be a good thing. And that's the same with sexism, that's the same with homophobia as well. Thoughts on Yusuf Poulsen? Wants to leave Leipzig and have everything Solskjaer wants in a striker: heading, speed and strength, says Johan. So Poulsen's this Danish striker, isn't he? I mean, look, I like the look of him. He's a very handy player to pick up on FIFA, if you're playing FIFA, by the way. Is he the level United are looking for? I would rather we went and got a Jimenez from Wolves, to be honest, than a Poulsen. I think United got lucky with a Garlo, but I think we need a bit better quality. Bit better quality. Have you seen the live interview Rashford did this week? He talked about playing with Sancho and hoping he joins United. That's from Ishtaq Ahmed. Well, I think I think Sancho is coming to United, and nobody has really said this either way. I just think that Sancho to United is obvious, because Dortmund are saying we won't stand in his way if a club gives us the money we want. Sancho wants to come to the Premier League. I think he wants to come to United. So with those two things in place, the only thing that will stop it happening is if United go, we can't afford to pay that anymore. But I think United should pay that, because I think you're getting hold of a player that, I mean, look, if you've got your doubts about Manchester United and Solskjaer at the moment, you add Jadon Sancho into that team. So you've got Sancho on the right, Rashford on the left, Martial up to the front, Bruno and Pogba behind him, Matic, Fred, McTominay to do that role, the back four that we've got and the keeper we've got. I mean, come on, we're comfortably top four. The question is, can we challenge for a title? Because that team's got too much quality in it. Doesn't matter how crap the tactics are, that team's got too much quality in it. It's a fantastic team. It's probably, for me, just missing an Ndidi or a Partey, and then I don't see a weakness. I think Wan-Bissaka's the best defensive right back in Europe. I think Luke Shaw and Williams are doing fantastic work. I think Maguire and Bailly or Twansebi or Lindelof, I'm happy with that. De Gea, I think will get better with the better team in front of him. Bruno, Pogba, come on, you can be critical of either player, but they're quality. And then Sancho, Martial and Rashford, with people like Greenwood, maybe a Garlo still on loan, Dan James. The quality and depth suddenly goes to a level that you're like, wow. Zayn Miasi says, I can't see him doing better than Rodgers, Klopp, Pep and Arteta next season. So you should get Poch, says Zayn Miasi. Well, maybe I've sort of countered that there. I think you look at the quality of the team that he's got. It's hard for Solskjaer to fail. I mean, look, I think if you put Ole... How good a coach is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I don't have the answer to that. I think that if you put Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge of Cardiff, he gets relegated. If you put him in charge of Everton, where does he come? If you put him in charge of Manchester United, you've got a pretty good chance of being successful, because he's probably got the best set of players we've had in the last 6 years, apart from Mourinho. And Mourinho failed because he was too defensive. So Solskjaer needs to take a lesson there. He's got a lot of flair players. Pogba's a flair player, Rashford's a flair player, Martial's a flair player, Bruno's a flair player, and Sancho will be a flair player, Greenwood's a flair player. We've got so many flair players. Don't play counter-attacking football. Like, you've got to try and get the ball to your flair players, because flair players want the ball, and they want a lot of the ball. They can do damage on the attack, on the counter-attack, but God, if you've got a Bruno or a Martial or a Rashford or a Sancho or a Pogba, you want them on the ball as much as possible. So you don't play counter-attacking football. And that's what Ollie's got to do next season. He's got to find a way to get us on the ball more and use these flair players. Because what a scenario this would be. After losing to Burnley, we were sat there going, we're shit, we're not getting top four, we're going to be back in the Europa League next season if we're lucky. Pogba's going to go. We hadn't bought Bruno. Why would Sancho want to come here? That was the situation after Burnley. And Solskjaer's not the right man. We're now sat here going, ooh, Sancho wants to come anyway. Pogba doesn't want to go. Bruno's here. We will be in the Champions League, hopefully. And it changes absolutely massively. Timmy says the talk inside the FAA is that next season will be behind closed doors. Well, I mean, that is a conversation in itself. I was on Red Men TV, the Liverpool channel today, and we were talking about this. And I was saying to them, look, as Liverpool fans, I'm sure you want the season back to win it. But how will you feel winning it in an empty stadium where you're not going to be there? So I think football will be very different next season. But you know what? That game against Last Links, it feels like last year. It was only about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it? And the first 15 minutes, I hated it with no fans in the ground. But then you get involved in the game and you forget about it anyway. So if the choice is no football or football behind closed doors, is anybody going to go, oh, forget it? I'm watching darts, you know. EastEnders, no, I will watch the football behind closed doors because it's better than nothing. And ultimately, if we've got football behind closed doors because we don't want to spread this thing that's around, then we might have a year where we have no football we have football behind closed doors. But we will get back to those days. I mean, you're probably like me. Even when I'm playing my FIFA stream, I can see the crowd. Or I'm watching classic games. I've been doing this thing on YouTube recently where I've been doing like the BBC review of World Cup '94. It's like an hour show. You see all the crowd and everything like that. We're a massive part of football. Massive part of football. Football without fans doesn't exist. Well, it might have to exist without fans in the ground, but we will still be able to watch it. Zane says Pochettino taking Spurs to the Champions League was mission impossible. I would take him at Arsenal. Well, I think Spurs were better off with Poch than they are Mourinho. How badly will clubs be affected financially if the whole season is played behind closed doors, says Dubby Guy. That is the question of the night. Because when you think about football coming back, you've also got to think about the money side of things. How detrimental would that be to United signing Sancho if United knew all next season there's no match day revenue? This is what I mean. I think United are that close to getting Sancho, but it's whether they spend the money. And will they spend the money if they know their revenue is dropping massively for a year? They need match day revenue. Match day revenue is very important, and it's not just the season tickets which they'll lose out on. It's the corporate side of it. Look, I've been to Old Trafford a couple of times in the corporate bit, and it's a massive earner. The boxers, the executive boxers, it's a huge amounts of money. Could they make that money back by doing some sort of TV deal where every United game is available on the telly? And I think every club would have to do this, so that those 60,000 fans that are in the ground, or 75,000 fans in the ground, pay £100 each or £200 each to get every game on their TV. I would do it. You would do it. So maybe that's a way to make money back for clubs. But the rich clubs will get richer, and there's not going to be many Burnley fans doing it, is there? So there'll be a lot of people trying to work out a lot of things at the moment. Josh Wilson says that Mark, darts is class, and I love the videos. I don't mind the darts. But I'd rather watch football behind closed doors, to be honest with you. Anyway, I'm going to get off because I'm going to go watch a film. But thanks everyone for watching, and let me just say that we'll be back in the morning. There'll be a United News Daily tomorrow morning. Normally do it live on a Saturday, Sunday, which is a treat instead of a pre-record. And tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we got the quiz. The pub quiz tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I can't wait. I don't know the questions because I'm a contestant, as is Flex. I think Rance is the other one. Drawty's the question master. It's going to be all done on the graphics on there. But what I will say to you is, you are much as part of the quiz as us. Get your pen and paper ready, mark out what you get, and at the end you'll know whether you beat me or Flex. You'll know if you've cheated, so if you cheat, you don't win, do you? We've got prizes and everything, but it's a really good quiz because it's not one of those ones where Drawty asks it and I'll shout out the answer. We will be putting our answers in a private group to Drawty so he can see it, but you lot don't see it, and it gives you time to answer it. I'm really excited, and it's not all United related either. It's general knowledge, etc. So tomorrow night, 8 o'clock for the quiz. Don't miss it, the pub quiz. It's going to be brilliant. 8 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening. Have a good start to your weekend. And stay safe. The most important thing is I want to see every one of you back watching these shows and the watch-alongs when the football's back in 3 or 4 months' time. Not tomorrow. I want you back tomorrow, but I want you back in 3 or 4 months' time as well. I want you safe. I want your family safe. I want your friends safe. And that only happens if you stay home and you stay safe. I don't want to lose any of you lot. I don't want you losing any of your family at all. So please, please, please. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of sadness out there. It's happened to me this week. Stay safe, stay home. I know you've got to go shopping if you need to. I know some of you're going to work doing key worker jobs and you're bloody heroes without capes. But please, if you don't need to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. Don't. Stay safe, stay home, and stay with us. Thanks for watching. See you soon.